Thank you, John. I'm going to try and do this in the allotted time. I don't want to run the risk of the ire of Mediatel. But I'd like to thank Mediatel for giving us the opportunity today to give you an update on the progress of the Origin platform, and also the opportunity to paint a picture of our vision. Who will use it, what it will be used for, and probably most importantly, who's going to pay for it. And I will also answer, from my perspective, the specific question as to where Origin sits with the broadcasters. Now, I've been in place as Origin CEO for 3 months, but my involvement with Origin goes way back to when it was a germ of an idea in 2017, and I was working on the media agency side of the business. What I think has become increasingly apparent over the last 3 months that I've been in situ is back then I seriously underestimated the depth and breadth of the demand for a cross-media measurement solution from our client community. And so I think it's worth reminding ourselves of why Origin is a top priority for brand owners and why they are the driving force behind it. So I don't think anyone in this room needs to be told that the fragmentation of audiences for advertising is accelerating at an ever faster rate. There are new platforms for video advertising appearing frequently. The programmatic open web for display and video is fragmentation personified. And we all know that the reach of linear TV is declining at a fast rate too. And what does this mean for our clients? It means that ad schedules are often skewed to unwanted frequency, with gaps in coverage of the target audience, which must be met and filled by other means. We also know that ad formats themselves are proliferating faster and faster, with vastly different characteristics on hugely different devices. And meanwhile, measurement remains too often proprietary and opaque, sometimes within walled gardens, as we've heard referred to in some of the earlier sessions, but also with very unclear standards for comparability. And if that wasn't enough, tightening privacy provisions from Apple and others mean that accurate attribution is becoming harder and harder. And it's these three factors that are the driving force behind the launch of Origin. So I think the imperative for advertisers and therefore for us are very, very clear. The first is we need to improve efficiency, reduce the wastage from duplicated reach and unwanted frequency. The second thing is we need to improve the audience's experience of advertising. We need to reduce the sense of bombardment that we all know undermines trust and favorability in advertising. And third, and I think most importantly, is we need to make advertisers' campaigns much more effective. And how do we do that? By putting the tools in their hands to power the media choices that need to be made to meet their campaign goals. And my premise is very, very simple. Origin will answer each of these imperatives. So, what we have on screen here is our current UK backers. We have 25 of the UK's largest advertisers. Many of these advertisers are also global brand owners. Each of them is a funding stakeholder, and most have supported since launch and through successive rounds of funding, contributing many millions of pounds into the system. On the agency side, we have 5 out of the 6 of the big global media networks. We have the IPA, and we also have the specialist performance agency, the Kite Factory. And of course, we have the major platforms, publishers, the demand-side platform, the Kite Factory, and we also have engagement from direct mail and audio. And look, we expect to add more media owners in due course, so watch this space. And I think it's fair to say that the platforms have listened to advertisers' demand that they don't mark their own homework, and they've made substantial commitments to independently audited, verified, and objective audience measurement. And to further underline how important this is for advertisers and to demonstrate their commitment to Origin, significantly more ISBAR names will join as stakeholders from 2023 onwards. And you may have seen the release yesterday from ISBAR on this. And look, you will see that broadcasters are not on the list, and I will come back to this later. So that there is just the UK effort. because Origin is part of a truly global drive by the advertising community as represented by the World Federation of Advertisers. And that's to deliver accountable cross-media campaign measurement, and that's designed to meet both advertiser and wider industry needs. And how does it do that? By following the North Star principles that you can see outlined on this chart here. And time doesn't permit to go through all of them. You'll be happy to hear. I think the other thing that it's also important to stress and clear up that the advertising North Star is not about building a trading currency, but it does call for a currency grade solution built on JIC principles and also designed to be compatible with trading currencies. So now, and this is the only technical chart I'm going to show you in the deck, I promise. How are we going to do this? On this slide, we have the outline of the Origin architecture. So Origin rests on the foundation of a single source calibration panel for TV and digital, creating a national model of virtual IDs. And Kantar is currently recruiting and building the panel and has been commissioned to develop Origin's virtual ID model. These virtual IDs are provided to media owners and then matched against campaign impressions under the control of open source code, which is globally available from the WFA. And this matching can also be applied where existing JIC data is being brought into the system. So for example, with Bob data, which, subject to audit, we aim to incorporate as Origin's source of linear TV commercial impacts. And then the final part of the process is the matched impressions are then returned to the Origin platform. This is being built by Accenture, and they're brought together through privacy-safe MPC, or multi-party computation, a new three-letter acronym for me. And this will create the deduplicated outputs, which will range in form from a web-based user interface to various API feeds. And so what are the outputs that the Origin system is going to produce? Well, these are driven by the WFA's North Star. The product roadmap will begin with the reporting of deduplicated reach and frequency, which is core to Origin's minimal viable product. We'll then deliver more sophisticated and more granular reporting and planning tools, and they will follow shortly afterwards. And we've been working closely with user groups in the agency planning community and with knowledgeable clients to develop these offerings. The vision is really simple. It's to provide a rich source of audited, accountable data to allow advertisers to evaluate the contribution of each part of their media schedule and to optimize their spend against their objectives. And metric standards will be applied, but the system will also report on multiple facets of quality too. So for example, things like screen size, completion rates, duration, sound on, sound off, etc. And the goal, I think, is really, really simple, is we want to make media neutral planning a reality for both our advertisers and for agencies. The final part of the roadmap as it currently sits is to provide, as soon as is feasible, the capability to support the measurement of business outcomes too. And look, we believe this is not a nice to have, but an imperative. And I think this underlines the ambition of the Origin program to meet both client and market needs too. And look, we know that this is hugely challenging, and I think we believe it will require a fundamental shift in the way that agencies and clients work together. So hopefully we'll deliver a world where strategic and tactical cross-media planning will sit at the center of the interface of their relationship. So on to progress of the system. Since we announced the launch of Origin in 2019, we have answered two questions. Could it work, and does it work? And the unequivocal answer to both these questions is yes. We are now building the service, and in 2022, we have been commissioning and building our panel and delivering the technical infrastructure that's required to deliver the Origin platform. At the end of 2022, we're now poised to start testing in earnest. So we're running end-to-end integration testing, that's starting Q4, and then we're going to move into the trial and pilot launch phases, building out the number of advertisers, media agencies, and media owners that are participating, as we roll out from alpha to beta trials, then to pilot, and then on to full launch of the minimum viable product in Q3 of 2024. And I think it's also worth mentioning at this point that the UK is not alone in developing a cross-media measurement platform. The ANA, with the same common global components, is progressing fast to address its local market demands in the USA, and that's using the same WFA framework as Origin is being built to. And why is this important? Because we are acutely conscious that we will only succeed if this is a globally applicable solution. And the worldwide appetite since I've joined from advertisers and their representative bodies to join the movement is huge. So global participation brings us nicely on to domestic participation and the question of where Origin sits with the UK broadcasters. I think most of you are aware that the broadcaster community is not participating in the development of Origin. Look, they've raised 5 concerns, and we're in regular discussion with them about those 5 concerns. And their questions are legitimate. They range from the sensitivity of the VID methodology itself, to audit, to metrics, to context, and asymmetry of data access. Now, the first 3 of these questions we believe we have addressed, and the remaining 2 we believe will be addressed in the course of our work. We believe that through our trials and the rollouts which we've just detailed there, we will be able to evidence our responses to the questions and build confidence in Origin's value. And look, we continue to maintain that active broadcaster engagement would benefit them, their advertiser customers, and the industry at large. But look, ultimately, it's clearly up to the broadcasters whether they wish to participate or not. Interestingly, broadcaster non-participation would not appear to be the norm globally. In other markets, broadcasters are currently involved, with the US and Germany being 2 key examples. And finally from me, once the service is launched and in life, how's it going to be paid for? So this is the in-life funding model. I think the advertiser community has recognized that if Origin is to meet its needs, then they need to have a significant stake in its funding and a major say in steering its development. So we have consulted broadly with the industry on the principle of a fractional advertiser contribution on billings that are covered by the Origin service. And we're about to consult on the second stage of this on the details of the quantum and the collection mechanisms for this fractional contribution. So to give you an idea, at around about the ASBOV equivalent of 0.1% of billings, we believe that this could raise somewhere in the region of 30 to 40% of the costs of Origin on an ongoing basis. And in aggregate, we expect the buy side in total to deliver some 60% of the revenues. And I think that's a pretty unique situation for any audience measurement system in the UK. Platforms and publishers that are being measured will be, of course, be expected to contribute to its costs. But conversely, there will be no charge for media owners whose data is provided via the audited measurement of an existing JIC. So I hope in the short time that I've had available, and I hope I haven't gone too far over my time, John, I hope I've been able to give you some indication of the progress we've made and the global momentum that exists to make Origin a commercial reality and a success. And I will close by saying I strongly believe that Origin will satisfy advertiser, agency, and media owner needs, that it will deliver a renaissance in media neutral planning, and last but not least, that it will change our industry for the better. Thank you.